It's hard to sell millions of albums while remaining mysterious, but Enya has done just that. Her records Watermark and Shepherd Moons have made her one of the most popular artists in the world, but relatively little is known about her. Over the next half hour, we'll take you into Enya's world. She'll tell you about her childhood in Ireland, her musical visions, and her belief in the healing power of the Enya sound. From her early days in the Irish group Clannad, which included two of her brothers and a sister, to her most recent solo album, The Memory of Trees, Enya has blended the contemporary and the traditional. She sings in English, Latin, and Gaelic, letting her voice communicate more feeling than literal meaning.
Talk a bit about some of the initial experiences you had with music, and how did music just enter your consciousness or enter your life?
It's from having musical parents. I've always had music. From a very young age, I would have heard a lot of music. My father still entertains, and my mother's a music teacher. So, and in the area I was brought up in the northwest of County Donegal, it's known as a Gaeltacht area, and where you're brought up speaking Gaelic as a first language, and there's a lot of Irish traditional music there as well.
And though the darkness round me close, songs in the night it given, no storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging.
The relationship also, in terms of Irish mythology or traditional music, do you think that there are elements in that music that are kind of useful for the contemporary world?
In my music, I've heard a lot of sort of the influences from Irish culture within the music. And one thing I have to say that's very strong within the music is melancholy. It's very strong in all the melodies. Even if it's an up-tempo melody, you have this melancholy feel throughout the melody. And I think that that's something that it's very inherent of being Irish. A lot of people in Ireland have that, whether it's from sort of literature or music, or it's there very much so. So I think I've taken that from the culture, and it's quite strong in the music.
What do you think, is there something in the Irish character or in history that you think generates that?
I think so, because if you look back in Irish history, there was a time where music was banned, speaking Gaelic was banned, religion was banned, all Irish traditional sort of instruments were taken away from the people, but it didn't stop them from singing. They did what's called lilting, so as to be able to pass all the songs on, and so they're very passionate about their culture.
What kind of things inspire you? What kind of things will get your musical imagination working?
I know that going home to Donegal is very inspiring to me, because I can just go for walks in the mountainside, go for walks in the beach, and it's very inspiring for me to be able to sort of unwind completely.
Has your success altered the way that you think about your audience? I mean, you probably early on, I would think, had a fairly personal connection.
I think from the beginning it was the same type of audience, because on reading the fan mail, ads, at the beginning, the letters coming in from sort of very young children to a gentleman who only listened to classical music in his 80s, and it crosses right over, which is incredible for me, and it crosses over to different cultures as well, which is fascinating.
What do you think that people in places like Korea or Japan, are responding to, in your music?
It is strange that someone in Korea, Taiwan, or Japan are listening to me singing in Gaelic, and yet being able to understand They don't understand the Gaelic, but what they do understand is the emotion that's inherent in sort of the melody and in the performance. And they seem to be able to relate to this. So it's strange that it doesn't matter what language that I'm actually singing in, because people seem to be able to get involved with what's actually happening. Well, music is very universal, and it's again, you know, the fact that my own music is listened right around the world. You know, it's something from Ireland, coming from Ireland. It's incredible to reach out to so many different people. It's very amazing.
When we come back, you'll see how Enya's music takes her fans out of the everyday and into the mystic.
Music should be something to escape from everyday problems. It should be that moment that you can forget your problems completely. And it's important to have that moment as well, I feel. So I tend to believe that music should be quite therapeutic for you.
When do I tend to listen to Enya? Whenever I want to dream.
Welcome back to the Enchantment of Enya. I'm Anthony DeCurtis. One of the most intriguing things about Enya's music is the specific role it plays in the lives of her fans. They listen to it when they want to sail away. Have you been using Enya in your classes for a long time, or?
I've used her a number of times, and I find it especially nice at the end of class, because we do a final relaxation where we're able to, after a vigorous workout, just to a very calm place. And just through her music, it helps to really alleviate, you know, the mind. You take you more into the subconscious. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole aim of a lot of yoga practice, and it's just another method. The music is very important.
Well, it's very relaxing. Yeah, especially when we're doing the relaxation, it just has a flowing quality about it. It just took me to a different place.
It's sort of like you're on the beach and the waves are coming, you know, that kind of thing. Definitely, and that's always relaxing.
A lot of craft people like background music while they're doing their circles, that kind of thing. And this is something that's very spiritually uplifting. I don't know if her practices are totally into the craft or the occult, but you get trace elements that definitely tend to show her as a part of familiarity with the goddess, and that's something that struck out with me.
Well, I use it so my clients could be more stimulated and more relaxed into the massage. When I work on them, it's really hard to massage them when there's traffic going on or when the cars are honking their horn and stuff like that. So what I do is I put Enya's music, and it's like a more mellow, relaxing massage, and they feel much better afterwards. She has a very visual aspect towards her music, and when I play, even when I'm not watching videos or whatever, I just have a visual sense that I'm someplace else.
Is there a sense in which, I mean, in terms of your own imagination as you're composing, I mean, is there a visual element to that?
To me, it's very visual, and it can be landscapes, County Donegal, where I was brought up. It can be people, experiences. It's a combination of things. But yet, when I'm writing the music, I tend to let the music take me on a journey. So when I play the first note, the second note, I just go along with it.
Consider yourself a spiritual person or a religious person? You know?
I think more spiritual than religious. I was brought up a Catholic, and as everybody is in Ireland, and I've derived from religion more sort of the spiritual side of it, and it's known that I'd like to sort of walk into a church, you know, when there's nobody there to sit and I find it very therapeutic as well, just to sit and ponder in a church. The environment is very calming and peaceful. So yes, I think that that comes across in the music.
Some of the aesthetic elements of, you know, Catholicism translate into music, like for example, you know, relationships say to things like chant or just liturgical music generally. Do you feel that that's something that informs what you do?
Well, I have a great love for hymns because of being in the choir. When I was brought up, I would have been singing in the choir, and I love the simplicity of the melodies. It was like you could tell what the next note was going to be, and that's the note it was. And that's, again, a very calming sort of feeling. And I tend to feel that that influence is within my melody as well.
We noticed that Enya's here in the rock and pop section. A lot of people think of her as a new age artist.
Well, usually I guess what the pop stands for in the rock and pop is popular, and ever since '88 with the single Oriaco Flow, Sail Away I guess this is known, she kind of crossed over and a lot of the rock buyers were buying it, so instead of keeping it upstairs, we've made a decision to move it down here. And her sales reflect some of what we want down here, where the public normally is.
What about, you know, if someone goes into a record store looking for an Enya record, you know, they might find it in world music, or they might find it in new age, you know, or rock, pop, and soul, whatever. You know, do any of those labels mean anything more to you than another? I mean, is there one among them, or is there a particular way that you would characterize your music that is distinct from those?
Well, I think for any musician it's really difficult to categorize their music, and at the beginning I felt there was a problem because with Watermark this was a different sort of sounding album, and I know the record company were a little bit worried about sort of where to categorize the music, but now you know, it's not a problem because it's selling regardless of which sort of label that it's sort of under. But when people ask me to describe the music, I just call it Enya.
When we return to the Enchantment of Enya, you'll find out where Anywhere is. Enya's music makes a direct appeal to the imagination. The imagery the music suggests is as important as the sound itself. Anywhere is the latest of Enya's musical paintings.
Well, the song basically, I think the video is kind of reflective to what the song is about. The maze of moments, it's either this or that way. It's really about life in general.
Has being commercially successful altered the way that you think about success?
I think for me, it's the love of the music I have, and I just know I want to do more musically. So I think it would be regardless of the success for me. If, you know, the next album wasn't successful, I think I would carry on working with music, whether it's soundtrack or another album. I enjoy it so much, so I don't think that it would deter me at all.
For Enya's fans, her music is a soundtrack for self-exploration, and it makes for a journey that is soothing and inspirational. I'm Anthony DeCurtis.